Oh, hi guys. I said I'd do a follow-up. I got a little busy yesterday and wasn't able to do that. Actually, I haven't been able to do any practice, so I'll just use the recording I had the other night and kind of go through some of those things that I said I was going to go through that I ended up not. So, one of the big things that I mentioned was steering pinion, so hopefully you guys remember that. If you seem to be wearing out the right front tire on the car, then you'll want to. Um, so if you're wearing out the right front here, I can't show you because this is a replay, but that's what I did over the course of my 30 some laps. Um, I know myself, there's a couple different ways I can go about remedying that. One would be to, um, back my corners up a little bit more and be a little bit easier coming off the corner. And what I mean by being easier coming off the corner is my steering inputs and my throttle inputs. As you can see here, I've got, whatever lap this is, lap 5. Um, I've got the steering wheel, cranked here, and really it's because I'm trying to push it early on. So I guess we can go out here into some later laps where I'm kind of getting my rhythm. And same thing though, I got the steering wheel cranked, and I'm trying to be smooth on my throttle inputs, get out the corner, as much speed down the straightaway as possible, and so again, if you notice that you're wearing the tires, you can certainly mess with that steering pinion. Just know if you do go up, the car will be less responsive, so it'll be harder to catch in a slide, for example. But at the same time, if you can run smooth, consistent laps with a higher pinion, it should, and theoretically, save that right front tire, and maybe you'll be um, burning up the right rear a little bit more, which would be more conducive to a loose truck. Um, but with the steering pinion being looser, meaning the higher the number, the more you have to turn the wheel to achieve the same amount of turn rate in the tires, if that makes sense. So just know that that is one thing that you should play with, that you shouldn't mess around with, especially if you're newer and you're having trouble burning the right front off. Try going up on the pinion just one click. I think 12 to 1 is the default for this week. So going up to 14 to 1, hopefully you'll notice that you're not burning as much, but you could also have the counter reaction that the car's not turning quite the way that you like it. So you're putting more wheel into it, therefore you're actually burning the right front more, so it can be counterproductive. One one thing I will say, and this is very true for trucks, NASCAR, any car on an oval, and that is there's a certain amount that you want to that you want to turn the wheel to achieve full steering, or so you're going to get the most that you're going to get out of the tires. After you start turning it past a certain point, you're scrubbing the tires more, and it's not actually benefiting you at all past a certain point in the turn. Um, I didn't do it here, but one way that you can figure out that point is to go out and do a slower lap. Not exactly pace speed, not race speed, somewhere in the middle. So maybe in this particular case, I notice I'm doing these, going through these turns of 95 to about 100, 105. So that's about a 10-mile-an-hour gap, which is pretty big. But yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into that. But regardless, maybe knocking it down to like 75, 30, or 75, 80 miles per hour. And what you'll notice is how much you turn the wheel at that slower speed to get the car to turn throughout the entire turn. Um, is less than what you're doing, of course, at full speed. And there's a lot of reason for that, a lot of physics involved and everything. Um, you will always have the most wheel in the car or truck, what have you, at the apex of the turn, which is fine. But even myself, I know, throughout this session that I did here, I was overdriving the car, overdriving the right front, and overdriving the car, burning the right front, which is not going to be good for a long run in the race. Um, there are ways that you can counteract that during the race. If you burn off the right front, you're just going to have to slow down your corner entry and be more careful on your corner exit. It's also going to affect your speed in the middle of the turn. And like I said in the previous video, and I might have mentioned at the beginning of this one, we spend most of the time in the turns at this track, so getting the turns down is very important. So uh, that's, I think, enough on steering pinion. Hopefully it makes sense with what I'm talking about with actually, how much steering input you're putting into the truck. And then again, it goes back to how much throttle input. These two things go kind of hand in hand for car handling and also burning the tires here. So less input, the better as far as steering input, and that's going to allow you to get back on the gas more. So um, I think I went into this saying that I was going to show you guys, an example of, what happens or why it's important to get the car woed down so you can get a good run off. And let's see, I'm on lap 19 here. These should be better to show you because they're, the tires are wearing, and I'm not really adjusting my line so much as I am, just I've done a lot of practice. I've done the practice here. So the most important things are hitting the apexes and getting good runs off. So um, one thing it's kind of hard to see, it's a feel thing, and that is when you're going into these turns here, at one point, the car really catches, and you can kind of see it here. You can see as I'm putting the wheel input, of course I'm burning off speed here, that at some point the car decides, okay, you're going slow enough, whatever the case may be, I'm going to turn now. And that's exactly what happens here. You can see it starts to turn down towards the apex here as I go in slow motion, and I'm coming up off the steering input as much as I can, and giving it throttle at the same time. So um, when you drive the truck into the corner a little too hot, it's not gonna grip up. You're gonna overshoot, and it will essentially just, you know, it's not gonna do what you want it to do, and you're gonna have to force it to do what you want it to do. And you never want to have to force the car. You want to kind of work with the car to get the car down there. So again, I went back to this lap 4 here where I know I pushed it, just seeing how far I could go, and it didn't work out. I got back into the gas too early before even the apex of the turn, and because of that, I had to get out of the throttle, actually get on the brakes, so I didn't run into the wall. So again, if we go down here to lap 8 or 9 here in my run, you'll notice that I am on the brakes, on turning until that car starts to point where I want it to point, and then I pick up the throttle. So I guess that's the important part to kind of figure out. And this is can only be achieved by practice. I can't tell you, you know um, how to achieve this other than telling you what I am now. Um, but ultimately, it's a feel thing. So you get out there and you'll do laps, and you'll notice, like I have, that by doing the laps, um, the when you get the car woed down and into the turn, it's going to turn easier. It's going to be easier to get up on the throttle to get off the turn. And so that's really what you should be looking at here. It's more of a consistent corner entry than it is a consistency in corner exit. Because if you don't get the beginning, the corner entry right, you're going to have to slow down too much. You're going to burn off speed, and it already compromises corner exit. So the best thing you can do is make sure you get this car woed down or truck woed down so you can get it into the turn, down around the white line, and then nice and easy off the throttle, and keeping the truck under so you're not spinning the tires. So just do your best to try to get the car woed down into the turn. You'll notice it's going to open up the exit of the turn and make it far more easier. One thing that I've noticed a lot of younger or less experienced, I guess, I don't know how to say it, where people struggle is um, you'll see that, okay, for example, maybe my 30.6 is the fast time that you want to achieve, and you're running 31 somethings, and you're like, well, I got to figure out where I'm getting that extra speed at. Don't try to find it in the middle of the corner. You're going to find that extra speed on the entrance and the exit of the corner. Most likely, I will tell you, probably 8 out of 10 times, it's going to be the exit of the corner where that extra speed is. So again, get the car woed down. You'll notice that it will bite and it will want to turn. You can come up off the steering and get back on the gas sooner, allowing you to get a better exit and carry more speed down the turn or down the straightaway into the next turn. So there's that. And then throughout this, I've kind of talked about, what happens when you go in too hot. You saw it, you have to get on the brakes. You have to get the car back down to where you want it at the center of the turn. So all these things that I'm talking about are hand in hand with car control. And so hopefully throughout this rambling that I just did, this makes sense to you, or you picked up something throughout it. Through doing that. So now I talked about tire wear. I talked about why getting a good entrance, getting the car slowed down is vital for having a good exit. As I'm talking here, you'll notice that, like, say for instance, right here in this last turn, I did not go all the way down to the white line. The reason behind this is sometimes during the race, there's going to be a car below me, and I'm not going to be able to go down there. So I'm practicing using that second line so I have an idea of what the truck will do when I have to use it during the race. Um, this is a unique track in the aspect of you can make passes on the high side, you can make passes on the low side. Of course, we all want the low line. It's the quickest way around the track, but when you're tracking out, you really need all that track to be able to carry the speed. For example, here, if I was coming off of this turn and I had a car on my outside, I'm not able to come out of this turn the same way that I am here. Um, you know, at this point, I've already hit the guy. So the entire turn gets changed when there's a car on the outside. You're not going to go as fast through a corner having being side by side. I think we all know this. This is kind of, basic physics racing 101. Two cars going side by side aren't going to be as fast as a single car by itself. Um, so, here, if I had a car on my outside, I would have to be, a whole truck length over here. One of the big things that I can share with you is getting back in the throttle here. I would not be nearly as aggressive getting back on the throttle having somebody on the outside of me. I'm going to wait longer to get back in the throttle and make sure that the truck, again, is pointed where I want it to be or where I want it to go, without making minimal inputs in the truck. So the easiest way to do that is getting back on the gas a little bit later, or maybe not getting back into the gas as much, so the truck in this case doesn't track out as much. So we're going to keep it more tidy, and not be able to use the track. You know what that means? The guy on the outside, if he does do right and gets that car nice and slowed down, here at the apex, you're going to be able to, the guy on the outside in this case, is going to have a better run off the turn, which may mean he'll be able to clear you going down the small straightaways that we have here. So inside, outside, it's important to practice both, even if you only do a few laps of running the second lane. At least you have an idea of what the truck's going to do when you do run that second lane. So it is important to practice all the above. Practice your optimal line. Practice that as much as possible and just get comfortable with running your optimal line. Practice running as if there's somebody on your outside, and then also practice running as if there's a car on your inside. You're not going to run as fast as laps with the car on your outside or inside. Just went over that, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. But there's that. So um, I did try to, I ran 30 laps. They tick off quick here. It's easy to get in rhythm at this track, which is why I like it. The speeds stay up a little bit higher than your, um, other short ovals like Martinsville, for example, where I feel like we put through the turns and we jam the gas down the straightaways, jam the brakes, we're back into a turn. It's a paperclip. It's boring to me. Um, you know, very repetitive. We won't talk about our race there this season. We'll focus on the future and what we're doing now. So we're all getting better with each week, and I'm seeing that too. And I hope these videos help out. But anyways, um, so I go out here and I'm like, all right, well, I ran 30.6. I know I can go faster than that. So let me take everything that I did for the last 30 some laps and try to put it all together into a fast lap. And what I do is I push it. I push it too far. I pushed it too far when I came out of the turns here, and I lose the back end there. As you just saw it wiggle, big old wiggle, and that's just from getting back into the gas a little too quickly. Um, and the reason I went over this is because, of course, when we get into qualifying, as you see me lose the entire truck there, when we get into qualifying, of course, we all want to put down the fastest lap that we possibly can and get up front. I will tell you, I will be the first one to say I am not the best at qualifying because I don't focus on qualifying. I focus on race. I focus on consistent, clean laps. We're going to have a race that's 100, 200 laps long. Who cares if you can run a fast lap? That's one lap. If you can run 60 clean laps consistently with a minimal fall off, maybe you'll lose a tenth or two throughout the entire run. Or, ultimately, typically in NASCAR, you're going to lose a second, second and a half, maybe even 2 seconds throughout the run. So that's normal. It's fine. But if you're driving the car really hard, what you'll notice instead of having these consistent laps here, like you see here with me going, well, of course we're the anomaly there in lap 4 where I pushed it too hard to see how far I could do it. But I come back down to earth, do another 30.9, and then we're in the 31s for a while. Get a 32 here because I'm experimenting with the lines. I'm running the high side. I'm running the low side. I'm doing all these things that are going to happen during the race. I'm practicing them by myself, so I'm prepared for when they happen. But it's never it's never been bad for me practicing, focusing more on the race, and I've done very well for myself on iRacing, just practicing for the race. Now, of course, one avenue that is undeniable is because I do not practice a lot on qualifying. I may, before we go out to qualify for a race, I might go out and try to run, a handful of fast laps. Just go out there, run 2 laps, try to go fast, park it, go back out, run 2 laps, try to go fast. I may only do that for like 10 minutes right there at the end of a session right before we qualify. Um, what I notice is it creates bad habits. You're practicing bad habits by doing that because that's not how you should view a race. When we get into a race, I'll just let this kind of play in the background so you have something to look at rather than just me talking. Um, so when you get into the race, you know, there's other drivers, there's so much other things involved that one key that I have found out with NASCARs is the way that they develop the tire model is your fastest laps are always going to be at the beginning of the run. And it's going to taper off from there. Whereas, for an example, in an Indy car, um, we may run, let's just say this is an Indy car, and over here, we do 30.6. I may be able to run in an IndyCar consistent 30.6s for like 20 straight laps before I even see any fall off. With NASCARs, it's a different story. Just the way that they have the tire model, you burn the tires off, and when they come up the operating temperature, you're going to run slower laps. It's kind of counterintuitive to me as far as how the truck would actually, or NASCAR, would actually operate. But, you know, I'm sitting in my basement. I'm not privileged enough to go out here and race these things in real life. But having said that, what I will notice is the car does, when the tires heat up, the car does tend to stick a little bit more. So you can push it a little bit further into the turns. You can, get on the gas a little bit harder. But um, ultimately, again, you're looking for consistency, and consistency should be all you're after. If you can get comfortable running consistent laps, you will come into the race, and it doesn't matter if you qualified second or you qualified 20th. The cream will rise to the top, and by doing that practice and having those little things. Just knowing what the car's going to do when you're on the outside, when you're on the inside, what the car's going to feel like on lap 30 versus what it feels like on lap 10 versus what it feels like on lap 5 is all important things. I'm still learning the trucks, the NASCARs. I'm still learning IndyCar, and I've done that for 10 years on this service. So, always keep an open mind, and there's always somebody else faster than you. So, just control what you can, and that is your truck. Just be uh, mindful of your spatial awareness, and try to keep the cup or the car clean, and try to keep your inputs minimal and consistent, and throughout that you're going to have a great race. So hopefully tonight we do many a green flag laps. No, the longer we go green, the more it's going to hurt me. So hopefully that'll give you some extra motivation right there, to keep the race clean. But other than that, I know I've said a lot, I've talked a lot, I've gone over a lot of my bullet points that I had written down here. Not quite in the same order, and I know I've kind of nailed some things, maybe too much, and hopefully they haven't lost the message hasn't been lost through my rambling. But regardless, hopefully we have a good race tonight. Hopefully the little things I talked about here will help you out. If anybody ever wants like my fast lap or anything like that, just feel free to ask. If you notice something's happening with the truck and you're practicing and you're like, hey, why is my right front at 60% but my right rear is at 90%? Well, I know why. I talked about why, but if you still have questions, by all means, reach out and you know, yeah, I can show you the way. I can tell you everything I know, but unless you practice these things, um, it's like when I gave guitar lessons many, many years ago. I'd always tell my students the first stuff that we're going to learn is going to be the most boring and mundane things, and you're going to go, why am I learning this? Then the people that stuck with it in a month, they're playing songs that they never thought they'd be able to play, and it's because they learned the basics. And this is much of the same. So, um, you know, don't try to go out and be as fast as you can right off the bat. Ease into it. Find your limits, which may be different than the truck's limits. But I promise you, if you run consistent laps in and out, you will find speed in the truck. And once you find that speed, it's always going to be there. Once you find that you can go just this little bit faster at this point on the track, you're going to do that every lap without even thinking about it. After a little bit of practice. So, again, hopefully, my ramblings help. And, I'm just doing this to help everybody else out. I don't need to do any of this. So, again, if you enjoy these videos, if you are finding any sort of benefit from them, let me know, and I will continue to do them at least throughout the end of the season here. Um, so, yeah, let's give me feedback. Let me know what you think. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff here, and as I continue to do these videos, which are also good for me because it makes me get my thoughts in order um, for the race itself and practice. So, again, let me know, let the admins know, and if there's ever a time where you feel like you might be a benefit from a little one-on-one session or something like that, if you want to pay to put up the hour or two session, get a hold of me, and we'll figure out a night where I can get in there with you, and I'll help you get faster. I'll teach you everything that I have learned in 10 years of iRacing and doing laps at all these tracks and various cars and forms of racing. Um, you know, I I'm here to help you guys. So again, I hope this does help. Hopefully, you guys are picking up some things here and there, and let's have a good race tonight. Let's put on a good show. And I appreciate every one of you for watching. Like, subscribe these videos. That helps me out. Gets them out there just like all the other YouTubers. I know this is just for us, but I kind of think I might be able to branch out and send these out to the mass public, for example, as I fine tune everything. So help me out in any way, shape, or form if you can, if you do watch the video. But at the same time, if you do have questions and want a little bit more detail, ask. If you see me in the practice and you're like, hey, can you jump in our Discord channel real quick? Yeah, if I can, I will. Remember, I have 3 kids. Nights are a little hectic, so you might see me on. I might not even be at my computer. A lot of times I just log on and just to get it up, get it going, go get the kids situated before I come back, and I sit down and say, hey, Dad's going to be playing a video game for the next 2 hours. So I can call it a sim, you can call it whatever you want. But in the end of the day, I am taking time out of my life to play this, and they understand that. They're supportive, my wife and everything. So I'm blessed to have that. Hopefully you all do too. But anyways, I'm here to help you guys out. Ultimate thing. So hopefully this does help, and let's have a good race.